Have you ever thought about what you need to survive? You can go without food for much longer period of time than you can without water. The water is the utmost importance to the existence of life, for all animals, for everything on earth that grows, everything that's alive. Recently I published a couple of videos. I took my daughters up to Estes Park, and I took one of my daughters, Isabella, up to the Continental Divide because it was on my personal bucket list to take a trip to the Continental Divide and go to the headwaters of the Colorado River where it actually begins. When I was doing some research on Google Maps, I saw this ditch, and I was wondering what it was because it was kind of separate from the Colorado River. And I did a little research on it and found out that it was called the Grand Ditch. And I did a little video on it while we were up there because I thought it was really interesting. You go up there and you've got the Colorado River that's flowing in one direction and the Grand Ditch flowing in an opposite direction across the Continental Divide. I found it interesting and published the video, and it's been received extremely well, and tons of comments and interaction from people on YouTube. So I thought we'd make another video and follow up about some of the comments that people made. The vast majority of people were extremely positive and supportive and friendly and nice, but there were some comments from people where you could tell that emotions were maybe triggered a little bit. The different perspectives were, let's say a farmer, I'm just going to use generalities here, I'm not pointing anybody out specifically, but let's say there was a farmer in the Front Range of Colorado on the eastern slope. You could tell that some people were a little bit some of their points of views were, don't go barking up that tree, leave it alone, California can suck it. I'm just paraphrasing some of these comments, but you could tell that there are some emotions that come with the discussion of water and water rights. So every human just wants to know that water is available to them, and with all of this discussion about water rights, water allocation, water compacts, water shares that are purchased and controlled by this organization or some other organization, you have governments that are suing other governments, states suing other states, states fighting for their share of water. Everyone is fighting for their share of the water, and there is only a finite amount of water available. So what would happen, let's say for example we had a record low snowfall in the mountains in the Rockies, whether it's here, Wyoming, Colorado, or Montana. Couple that with a follow-on record high summer heat. Let's say that happens for a couple seasons, for a couple years. You can see in this reservoir, second largest reservoir in the state of Wyoming, you can see there's an impact just from the usage right now. I'm sure a lot of this is seasonal, and this is probably very typical, but it's just an example of the water that's available, and this flows to the North Platte River, but it's just an example of the water that's available in some of these reservoirs. But you have man that's sending water this way and sending water that way and populating in areas that had no sustainable natural watershed, and now they're fully dependent on the water being manipulated artificially and sent through other means by geoengineering, by aqueducts and tunnels and canals. But what would happen if there was an over-allocation of the water use? What would happen if there was no more flow to these populated areas that don't have a natural watershed. I think that's what is on everyone's mind, and that is the concern today, is what are going to be the long-term impacts of all of these artificial changes and man-made changes to the watersheds. For example, the Colorado River, just at the top of the Rocky Mountains in the Great Continental Divide where it begins, it's immediately diverted over to the eastern slope. If you follow it down, it's diverted in a tunnel, and then if you follow it down further from there, it's diverted into several more tunnels. I think there's like 20 plus diversions. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. And also I wanted to say that please do your own research. Please do your own research. I had some people leave comments like, what is my agenda? My agenda is to take my kids out here on little adventures and make videos and share them on YouTube, and that's it. My agenda represents myself and my family. There's nothing more to it than that. But please do your own research. What I put in these videos is just what I've learned myself. I can't guarantee that everything is 100% correct, but do your own research. It's just YouTube. So if life requires water for existence, I think the question is that's concerning people, it's just my opinion, what I see, what I think, is that, is the water going to be available to me? And is it going to be available to my family? Or am I going to have to be concerned? Or should I be concerned if the water is going to be available? Or am I going to have to be concerned about having enough money to pay for the water, to purchase the water? There's been a lot of discussion, which I don't know a whole lot about, corporations purchasing up water rights. I understand businesses and corporations and big agriculture use water for growing food, crops and livestock and raising livestock and everything. But I think at the end of the day, everybody has the same concern, because we all need water the same as any other person, and then animals need it the same. Life in general needs water just the same. We all depend on it. It made me think about the existential question of whether or not ethically, who should the water belong to? If water is required for life, if water is required for your life or anybody else's life, but you can't get access, what happens if someday you can't get access to it because it costs too much, or the price of water is too much? Should water be treated as a commodity on New York Stock Exchange, for example, like oil or gold, platinum, uranium, things like that aren't necessarily requirement to live and to sustain life, but water is? Should water be able to be divided up and allocated into shares? Because that's my understanding of what's going on. Okay, so if there is a finite amount of water available to, let's say, for example, the western and southwestern region of the United States, let's talk about that area specifically. If this is what's available and that's all there is, should it be divided up into shares for everyone to purchase and allocate to certain areas? And who is managing that? Is there one organization that manages all of this? From my research, there's many organizations. There's many compacts and agreements between multiple organizations that manage this reservoir or that watershed or some other watershed. And it seems like to me that it's difficult. I believe that I did some research and I found that the state of Colorado has an actual water court. Don't quote me if that's correct, but I think it's called a water court with water judges and SMEs or engineers or water judges. I'm just going to call them that. Like I said, do your own research and don't quote me. But they have a court system, from what I read, that is designed and exists specifically to hear cases about water rights in Colorado, which to me just sounds, I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. I've never really considered that that's how complicated that everything is. But the more that I saw the comments from everybody and looked into it, more that I realized that it is a very complicated system. So this made me think, in my personal opinion, the concern that I have, maybe others share it and you can join in on the comments, is that as a human society, let's talk about here specifically in the United States, and it probably applies everywhere around the world, but here in the United States, in the Southwest region and the Western region of the United States, are we doing the right thing? Are we thinking about the future of our watersheds and the water that's available? And are we making sure that our children are going to have water available to them? Because at the end of the day, everyone has the same necessity. We all have the same requirements to have water first and foremost in order to live. And then oxygen. And we'll talk about that some other lifetime, hopefully. Or maybe never. So, is the water going to be available? Or is there actually an over-allocation of waters? Is this the water stock market, commodity stock exchange, what you see here in all these reservoirs? Is this already divided up and spoken for? All these shares of water. And then what happens if climate change continues to evolve? We get less snowfall, hotter summers, and if that repeats itself over multiple years. From what I've learned, some of these water levels, like for example Lake Mead, the water level has been going down for the past 20 years from what I've read. I'm sure that it fluctuates up and down, but just on the big grand scheme of things, that it's been going down. So I think the question is, are we forward thinking enough to ensure that we preserve water correctly? Are we looking at the bigger picture, the whole big picture? Or are we just responding to the needs of developments in Las Vegas, in the Front Range area of Colorado, where houses are just going up? New developments every single day. New housing developments that are built on top of each other, more families. And nothing against people that want to live in that area, but my point is it sustainable? Can the watershed sustain more? And how much more? And what happens if there's an impact in the climate? What happens if there's a major impact in the climate, in the weather systems? What if it changes? And these cities have been developed with the assumption that the water is going to be available to them. I don't know. Maybe there's entities that have done all this research and there's nothing to be concerned of, but I think people have a concern. And that's what I'm seeing in the comments, and I'd like to see your opinions on this in the comment section. So please leave a comment. Maybe I'm absolutely insane and maybe I'm misunderstanding what people's concerns are, but let's just say that this is a concern of mine. This looks like an enormous ant pile. Look at that thing, huge. So let me know in the comment section what you all think. Does anybody have concerns about this? Is there a way to come to some kind of mutual agreement? Should this be a democracy thing? Should the water be able to be purchased and procured and allocated to the highest bidder? Does the water actually, you know, some people have used the term the water follows the money. Does the water follow money? Is that where it's going? Is it going to money? Or should it all go to all areas of all populations equally, because all people need water just the same? Just a topic to have a conversation about. I found it extremely interesting, so I thought I'd share another video with you all. Some people have asked for a follow-up video, and I thought this would be a great place to come up to. So I originally grew up in Southwest Florida and spent my whole childhood fishing in and around the Everglades and the mangroves of Florida, and I always found it fascinating. I was extremely interested to maybe go to work for one of the water management districts in Florida one day. So I've always found all this very fascinating. I don't have any other agenda. I hope that you all enjoy these types of videos. We also enjoy publishing videos of our family out camping and fishing and traveling. So I'll try to mix in some of these water topic videos along with some of our typical family and adventuring videos. And I hope you all enjoy both of them. But I genuinely enjoy making these videos to get and see the perspectives and opinions of all the other people out there, because I think YouTube is an excellent place for people to actually have a voice, share and collaborate. I can't think of a better place where you can share and collaborate opinions on topics that people publish in their videos. It's an excellent place. So I also want to thank everyone who recently subscribed to our channel. Thank you very much. We had just a small channel, but these last two videos about the Grand Ditch and the Colorado Big Thompson project pushed our channel up over 1,000 subscribers. So that's super awesome, and thank you all very much. I will try my best to put out content that interests you all, and please leave comments and suggestions in the videos, and I will look into making videos about some of those topics that are available to us to make. We live out here in Colorado and Wyoming area, northern Colorado and southern Wyoming area, and we're out here all the time. So if you have suggestions, please drop them in the comments, and I will do my best to try to pick out some of the topics and see if I can go on site and look into things for you all. And I think it's a great place to have a conversation and talk about things and get opinions from everyone. I know there's emotions involved, and that's not what I'm trying to trigger. What I'd like to see is having a productive conversation where we can come to agreement and we can bring ideas and concepts to the public so that we can work on a more forward-thinking approach to the system that seems to be broken into all kinds of autonomous pieces. And hopefully that's what we'll be able to do is have a productive conversation and get opinions and views and perspectives from all kinds of people. So we just want to say thank you very much for watching. If you subscribe, thank you very much. That put us over 1,000 subscribers for our small channel, and that's a huge milestone for us. So it's super awesome, and thanks so much. Say bye. Bye.